Okay, so now when we talk about history, the very basic criteria is that whenever you look at a question or the part A, which is again a 25 mark question, but is divided into multiple questions. तो जो आपका question one number one है, that is a compulsory question that comprises of text-based source. That is usually this one. And alongside, we have a source-based question which is given through a picture. So mainly the 3 mark question, which is the source-based, mainly tests your skills, sorry, for the comprehension of the text that they have given. In this case, the one that you see on the screen is mainly about uh, a battle that took place between you could say the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaulah, and British East India Company, which was led by Robert Clive. So, what the examiner asks you or demands you to do in this question is to show your understanding of the text given. अब इसमें आपने करना क्या होता है? You're required to highlight any 3 reasons for those 3 marks that are given in the text. You cannot name anything that is already in your mind. So what you can say is that for this particular question, what you don't need to do is use your own knowledge. That is prohibited. You cannot add something that you know already from whatever you have read in the textbook. Usually इसको refer करते हैं contextual knowledge. So अगर इसका कोई contextual knowledge already आपके पास मौजूद है from reading from the textbook etc. तो that is not required at this time. आपने सिर्फ क्या करना है whatever you usually do in the English paper कि आपने ये जो टेक्स्ट है इसमें से you need to point out 3 reasons for whatever the question is asking. For example, यहाँ पे वो क्या कह रहे हैं? According to source A, what reasons are suggested for the British victory in the Battle of Plassey? So we are looking for the reasons which were responsible for the British victory in the Battle of Plassey. Again, ये जो keyword suggest होता है, this usually demands just to outline, right? अब इसमें आपकी मर्जी है, कुछ बच्चे as a paragraph इसका आंसर लिखते हैं, but you can also write in points. So that is something which is acceptable to the examiner as well. So होता यह है कि आपने 3 points देने हैं. You could simply read the text and then can give out your 3 reasons that you feel are responsible for the British victory in the Battle of Plassey. So what I want you to do is go through the text, uh, look for any one reason that you can find, and then we'll see that whether that reason is correct or not. Right? So take your time, look at the source, read it carefully. We are looking for the reasons which contributed to the British victory in the Battle of Plassey.
सर,
जी अब्दुल्ला.
इसमें ब्रिटिशर्स को वो दिखाया हुआ है, उनसे पीरियड दिखाया हुआ है इंडियन से, और उनकी
नहीं नहीं नहीं
क्लोथिंग
नहीं.
वगैरह से बताया।
हाँ हाँ Abdullah, you're right, but we are talking about source A, the text one first. Abhi, we are just looking at the reason for the text based. Yes, Zainab, can you point out any one reason why British were able to win using source A?
Because they had covered their cannons
Because they had covered their cannons from what?
from the rain. The
From the
rain did not
rain.
affect their cannons.
Yeah, the rain did not affect their cannons. They were able to cover them, and simply after the rain, it outfired the Nawab's cannons. Yeah, the Nawab's cannons who they were unable to protect. Okay, good. Um, we have Sakina here as well. Sakina, can you point out any other points other than the cannons being covered? Okay. Then Aisha, maybe the student with the name of Aisha. Okay, fine. We'll move to Abdullah. Abdullah, can you now point from the source A? Any other reason?
सर वो नवाब के 22 सोल्जर सिर्फ रॉबर्ट क्लाइव से मरे थे और नवाब के 500 सोल्जर्स मर गए थे, जिसकी
हाँ,
वजह से क्या नाम है, वो बहुत कम हो गया था, रेशियो बहुत कम हो गई थी नवाब सोल्जर्स की।
exactly, exactly. Now, this is the most important point which most of the students miss. Okay, they were at that time, due to the outfiring of the cannons, they were able to kill most of the Nawab's army men, and these men who died at that time were about 500. तो इतने सारे लोगों का soldiers की death हो जाना was another reason which contributed to Clive's win, because Clive के सिर्फ इस पूरी war में या battle में 22 लोग उन जो है उनकी डेथ हुई. सो दैट इज समथिंग दैट वी आर लुकिंग फॉर. सो यहाँ पे लेवल मार्किंग एज सच नहीं हो रही, बट दिस इज समथिंग दैट इज सिंपल पॉइंट मार्किंग. और आप क्या कर रहे हैं, यू आर नॉट even rephrasing. There is no need to rephrase. Whatever text you feel is the reason, you could just simply pick it up and make it a reason for the British win in the Battle of Plassey. So that is as simple as this. There is only one reason that is left, which is that Robert Clive was able to persuade Mir Jafar, Nawab's commander, to switch sides. Now, ये चीज याद रखें, समटाइम कुछ बच्चे क्या करते हैं, they are unable to collect you know all of the points जो टेक्स्ट में दिए होते हैं. अब sometime they'll just say he persuaded Mir Jafar. राइट नाउ इट्स नॉट अ कंप्लीट आंसर. आपको इतना तो बताना है कि परसुएड करके किया क्या. परसुएड हिम टू स्विच साइड. सो व्हेन यू मेक इट क्लियर, that is one of those reasons that you can point out for the British win. So for this particular source, what you need to do is just give out any three reasons that you feel are the ones which are responsible for the wars, the British win in the battle. So we have pointed out three reasons. Uh, the ability of Robert Clive's troops to cover the cannon when it rained, and after it stopped raining, the cannons of the British were able to outfire and almost killed Nawab's 500 people, which weakened the Nawab's army. Right now, this is something which is simply point marking. If you'll give 3 points, the examiner is bound to give you 3 marks. लेकिन ये क्या था? This is simply, as we discussed, कि ये हमारे पास is known as point marking. Whatever point you are giving, they will give you a mark against it. So that is based on point marking. Now, when we talk about the source-based question, the one which has the pictorial reference, that is source B. Now, source B is a question which talks about two things or demands you to do two things. Number one, for example, in this case, if you see, what are they demanding? They're saying, what does the source tells us about British East India Company? Again, contextual knowledge is not much required. आप कर सकते हैं ऐड contextual knowledge. Contextual knowledge मैंने बताया वो चीज है जो आपने बुक में कहीं पढ़ी होगी related to the topic, लेकिन it's not necessary कि आपको उसको कोट करना है. So any kid who doesn't have an idea कि बुक में सर ने क्या पढ़ाया था, they do not need to worry, because this is something that is again they are testing your skill to see that whether you are able to use resources to depict your understanding. So as long as you can look at these source and come up with the answer, that means you are doing fine. Now what we need to do here is, मैं बच्चों से कहता हूं आप दो चीजें देख रहे हैं. They expect you to do two things. One is known as I can see. You will start your answer with the text that I can see, and then you will add your observation, whatever you can observe. right? Now, what I will ask you to do is take 1 minute, look at whatever is happening in the picture without any, reason or looking for an answer. Just look at the picture, take out the things that you feel are happening, and then we'll discuss about it. Take 2 minutes. So, when you look at the source and the question, they say, what does source B tells us about the British East India Company in 1825? Now, the question here is that what does source B tells us about the British East India Company? So whatever we are answering, whatever we are looking at the picture is whatever we are looking at the picture mainly talks about that uh, what can we tell about the East India Company? Zainab, can you tell that what can we see in the picture? Just the
We can see
observations.
that the
Hmm.
a member from the British is sitting on a horse,
On a horse.
and
Okay.
we
And
can infer that it probably shows the inferiority of other people.
okay, okay, we are going beyond. ठीक है. The thing you can see is that there is a British officers who is sitting at a horse, while other people or the Indian people are walking by or passing by on feet, right? And then now comes the observation could be simply whatever is happening in the picture. In this case, जैसे जैनब ने पिक किया कि आपके ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर्स का हॉर्स पे सिट बैठना, ठीक है, सिटिंग ऑन अ हॉर्स. Now there comes the second part which is the most important. Observations आप जितनी मर्जी कर लें, पिक्चर डिस्क्रिप्शन आप जितनी मर्जी कर लें, you cannot gain more than 1 mark, right? आपके पास यहाँ पे यूजुअली जो लेवल आप फाइंड करना चाह रहे हैं या द लेवल दैट यू आर लुकिंग फॉर इज लेवल 3. नाउ लेवल 3 डिमांड्स यू फॉर द फोर्थ मार्क कि अगर आप 4 मार्क लेना चाहते हैं इस क्वेश्चन में, यू नीड टू कम अप विद वन ऑब्जर्वेशन एंड वन इन्फ्रेंस. नाउ व्हाट इज अ इन्फ्रेंस? तो जैसे अभी जैनब ने बोला कि शी जस्ट described that in the source you can see the British officers sitting on the horse while the Indians are walking by or passing by on their feet. So what we can infer? You will write I
सर
can infer.
superiority
G Abdullah.
सर इसमें superiority आएगी ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर्स की.
नहीं, मुझे आवाज नहीं आपकी समझ आई. व्हाट्स द क्वेश्चन? क्या कह रहे हैं?
सर मेरे क्या इसमें superiority आएगी ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर्स की.
ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर्स की क्या नजर आएगी?
superiority.
Superiority.
uh,
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. So this is our inference basically. देखो पिक्चर में कहीं नहीं ये लिखा हुआ कि वो सुपीरियर हैं. What we find out is कि whatever they are doing या whatever we can see in the picture that उसको वो तो घोड़े पे बैठा है, बाकी सारे Indians are not. This is our inference. ठीक है, तो inference क्या बोलते हैं? Inference is something that answers your question. तो क्वेश्चन हमसे यही वो पूछ रहे थे कि what we can tell about the British East India Company. So we can talk about that they consider themselves as superior. ठीक है, तो that is your inference. So आपने कोशिश ये जरूर करनी है कि whatever you are inferring, whatever is your answer to the question, that should be supported by the observation. अब आप ये तो लिख दें कि वट एवर इज हैपनिंग इन द पिक्चर, आप ये बता दो कि आई कैन सी द ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर्स ऑन अ हॉर्स, आई कैन सी इंडियन रूलर्स ऑन द हॉर्स, लेकिन आप उससे कुछ इन्फर नहीं कर पा रहे, यू कैन नॉट आंसर द क्वेश्चन विद इट, तो इसका कोई यूज नहीं है, यू आर मेयरली डिस्क्राइबिंग द पिक्चर, तो एक नंबर से ज्यादा आपको नंबर नहीं मिलेगा. व्हाट दे आर लुकिंग फॉर यू इज टू कंबाइन योर ऑब्जर्वेशन प्लस योर इन्फ्रेंस. सो अगर आप एक ऑब्जर्वेशन और एक इन्फ्रेंस देते हैं तो लेवल मार्किंग के हिसाब से यू विल गेट द फोर्थ मार्क. फिफ्थ मार्क करने के लिए आपको दोबारा से एक और ऑब्जर्वेशन देनी है एंड देन यू सपोर्ट इट विद अनदर इन्फ्रेंस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अनदर ऑब्जर्वेशन कुड बी द यूनिफॉर्म दैट ही इज वेयरिंग. What can you note about the uniform? What word can you use to describe the uniform he is wearing? Naman, can you tell? How would we describe the, the uniform he is wearing?
Yes, sir. I was about to ask the same thing. How can we infer something from his uniform?
For example, we can say that his uniform is very well decorated, or he is wearing a very uh, maybe expensive, or maybe you could see the gold stripes and all that. So हम क्या कहते हैं, he is wearing a very decorated uniform. आपने देखा आर्मी के यूनिफॉर्म्स जो होते हैं यूजुअली उनमें मेडल्स लगे होते हैं या इस तरह की चीजें. सो द यूनिफॉर्म ही इज वेयरिंग कुड आल्सो बी अ source for us for the observation. So the uniform he is wearing looks expensive or maybe is very well decorated. So from this, what can we infer? If somebody is wearing clothes that are expensive, तो हम क्या कहते हैं उसके बारे में, क्या comment होता है हमारा अमूमन, अच्छे या एक्सपेंसिव?
British supremacy.
वो तो सुप्रीमेसी तो हमने एक दफा सुपीरियोरिटी कह दी ना, तो अब हम बार बार सुपीरियोरिटी की बात तो नहीं कर सकते. इससे हमें क्या पता चलता है, ईआईसी कैसी थी, अमीर थी, गरीब थी,
The
क्या थी?
British were rich.
द
The
ब्रिटिश वर
British were
रिच.
rich.
यस, द ईआईसी वाज रिच या वेल्दी. ठीक है, तो आप कुछ भी इस तरह की बात कर सकते हैं. जो सुपीरियोरिटी वाली एक बात कर रहे थे, उसके लिए हम एक और जो ऑब्जर्वेशन कर सकते हैं, वो यूजुअली मैं कहता हूं कि फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन, इफ यू सी द ब्रिटिश पर्सन इज पेंटेड लार्जर एज कंपेयर टू द इंडियंस. अगर आप देखें तो द साइज ऑफ द इंडियंस इन द पेंटिंग इज डिपिक्टेड एज स्मॉलर. वाई? While on the other hand, we can see that they have purposefully, made the British figure larger than the Indians. So this can also be a observation कि उन्होंने painting में larger paint किया है, और that shows that they consider themselves as superior. Understood, beta?
Yes, sir.
Now, for these two observations and two inferences, they will grant you the fifth mark as well. So it means that even if you can, because it becomes difficult to take out two inferences or two observations, एक observation or एक inference, तो almost all the kids can do it. What the problem comes is that sometimes they will make a inference that is not related to the observation. For example, मैं अब इस तरह की बातें करना शुरू कर दूं कि फ्रॉम दिस आई कैन इन्फर दैट द इंडियंस वर वेरी पुअर. Although this might be a very valid inference, लेकिन चूंकि it is not answering the question. The question is about the British EIC. तो ब्रिटिश कंपनी के बारे में आपने इन्फ्लुएंस करना है. सो इफ दे आर आस्किंग अबाउट टू आंसर दैट हाउ वाज द ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, तो यू आर सपोज टू टॉक अबाउट इन द इन्फ्लुएंस अबाउट द ब्रिटिश पर्सपेक्टिव, ना कि इंडियन साइड. ठीक है, सो ये आपने खास तौर पे ख्याल रखना है. दिस इज नोन एज लेवल मार्किंग. अच्छा, अब इन ऑर्डर टू अंडरस्टैंड के 7 मार्क्स या 10 मार्क क्वेश्चन को कैसे अटेम्प्ट करते हैं, वी आर लुकिंग एट अ क्वेश्चन हियर. फॉर एग्जांपल 1D, दैट इज, was the work of Christian missionaries the most important reason why the Indians opposed British attempt to westernize them between 1750 and 1850? Now, the question that we have just discussed talks about British policies. Anyone who could come up with the British policy that they can recall. याद रखें आज का जो session है that is just an introductory. We are not judging you on your previous knowledge. This is something just to make it more easier for you ताकि आपको लगे कि ये इतना कोई मुश्किल नहीं है. What I usually say is कि हमेशा इन subjects को थोड़ा सा मुश्किल बना के बताया जाता है. Although cramming is involved, but if you can, if you have a good written expression, तो आप खुद से भी चीजों को लेके चल सकते हैं. This is what we are going to discuss today. Can anyone recall any of the British policies that they have read previously? Any of the
Sir,
policies with
doctrine of lapse.
doctrine of lapse? Very nice. G. Numan, can you recall any of the policies? One is like, for example, doctrine of lapse. कोई बात नहीं. If you can't recall, it's fine. We are not judging you on the basis of that. For example, एक policy is which is very famous is banning of sati. What it is? Banning of sati. Now, banning of sati is a very important reason. जो जैनब ने हमें बताया doctrine of lapse, that is also an important reason, but this was introduced in the timeline of 1852. अगर हम बात करें regarding the question that we have discussed, so उसमें हमारे पास जो timeline थी that was between 1750 to 1850. तो ideally हम इसमें बस doctrine of lapse की बात नहीं कर सकते, although it is a British policy. इसी तरह there was a policy of changing the language as well. Change of language. इसके बारे में हम different हम reasons उठा रहे हैं, but we will be going for only one reason that we can elaborate on. So change of language of administration was another reason that could be considered as a policy of British. So we have taken three reasons, and another reason that they have given us in the question is the work of Christian missionaries. So this is the most important one. हमें ये जरूर आना चाहिए. So ये जो Christian missionaries का है, work of Christian missionaries is our side one. इसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? Side one बोल देते हैं. Now, whatever the examiner has given us in the question is known as side one. अब यहाँ पे उसने कह दिया है कि क्या Christian missionaries का काम करना in India was the most important reason, जिसकी वजह से जो Indians थे वो उस चीज को पसंद नहीं कर रहे थे, हाईलाइट नहीं कर रहे थे. They felt के they were the one who were creating problems for them या उनको westernize करना चाह रहे हैं. So whatever they have given in the question, the reason that is known as side one, according to the level marking, side one को हम level 3 कह के रेफर करेंगे. Side one हमारा level 3 होता है और इसके marks उसने define किए होते हैं for a 10 mark question. First 3 marks, 4, 5 and 6. ठीक है. So whatever we do, it's better to talk about a reason that is given in the question first. ठीक है. तो ideally हमने सबसे पहले उस reason के बारे में बात करनी है जो उसने question में दिया है in order to achieve level 3. लेकिन हम ये पहले समझेंगे कि level 3 होता क्या है या how we come up with the the very basic paragraph जो हम बनाना चाहते हैं. How do we create it, or what do the examiner needs in a 7 mark question or in a 10 mark question or a 14 mark question? So the basic element है, what should be written in a single paragraph. ठीक है, अब इस चीज को अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए वी आर यूजिंग द पैराग्राफ ऑफ बैनिंग ऑफ सती. नाउ since the question is about Indian resisting to the idea of British westernizing them. तो सबसे पहले banning of sati, if we take it as a reason, so हम क्या बोलते हैं, हमारे एक पैराग्राफ के तीन हिस्से होने चाहिए. The first part of the paragraph is identification. We are looking for a reason that was responsible for, again, the British hate, the Indian hate for the British policies. तो पहला हमारी identification is directly coming directly to the point. So that is British banned sati. So this is something that we'll start our paragraph with. Now, can anyone tell that what the examiner expect? Now we have the attention of the examiner. We are talking about banning of a custom, that is sati. Now the examiner like he expects you to come up with the idea कि सती क्या था. तो what is सती? हम कहते हैं it was a Hindu tradition. कोई बता सकता है क्या था सती? किसी को पता है?
सर जिसमें बर्न कर देते थे,
हाँ जी, वेरी गुड.
मतलब अगर एक
किसको?
लड़की थी,
हाँ
अगर एक लड़की थी, उसके हस्बैंड की डेथ हो गई थी और वो एक
हाँ,
विडो थी, तो उस विडो को बर्न करना होता था,
yes,
जिंदा जला
very
देते
nice.
थे.
Where along with the dead body of her husband.
यस.
So हम कहते हैं it was a Hindu custom in which the widow was burned alive along with her husband. Now, यहाँ तक you have described it to the examiner that what was sati and that it was banned by the British. लेकिन यहाँ तक पढ़ के तो एग्जामिनर कह रहा है, या ही इज थिंकिंग कि यार ये तो बिल्कुल ठीक हुआ, दिस वाज समथिंग that was supposed to be happening. This part is known as description. It is known as description or explanation, where you are explaining that what the policy was that you have just named. बच्चे क्या समझते हैं कि अगर वो कह रहे हैं कि बैनिंग ऑफ सती कर दिया या सती को बैन कर दिया, तो दे यूजुअली फील कि ये उन्होंने खुद से बता दिया और एग्जामिनर को पता है कि सती क्या है. ऐसा नहीं है. दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू हैव टू डू ऑन योर ओन. यू हैव टू टेल द एग्जामिनर दैट व्हाट वाज सती. नाउ वी आर एट अ वेरी क्रूशियल पॉइंट जहां पे जो हमने इंफॉर्मेशन दी है, इट इज नॉट मेकिंग मच सेंस टू द एग्जामिनर अकॉर्डिंग टू द क्वेश्चन. बिकॉज हमने क्या बात की थी, हम ये कह रहे हैं कि इंडियंस क्यों हेट करते थे ब्रिटिश को जब उन्होंने मुख्तलिफ पॉलिसीज बताई विच वाज ट्राइंग टू वेस्टर्नाइज देम. लेकिन यहां तक तो लग रहा है कि सती तो बिल्कुल इस काबिल था ये कस्टम के इसको बैन किया जाता. ठीक है, सो यहाँ पे हम क्या कह रहे हैं, ये हमारी आइडेंटिफिकेशन और डिस्क्रिप्शन है. बट द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट दैट रिलेट्स योर इंफॉर्मेशन टू द क्वेश्चन. Now it's time to relate your information to the question. So we analyze it. Although it was a cruel custom, but the Hindu sentiments were attached with it. लेकिन क्या है, इसके साथ हिंदू सेंटिमेंट अटैच हुआ है. एंड दे फेल्ट दैट इट वाज अ insult to their religion. Yeah, they felt that this was something that the Britishers were interfering with. ये उनका रिलीजन था एंड ब्रिटिशर्स आर द वन हु आर इंटरफेयरिंग विद देयर रिलीजन. मैं बच्चों को समझाने के लिए बात कहता हूँ कि अमूमन जब ईद आती है तो बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो कहते हैं कि नहीं, आप कुर्बानी नहीं करें, आप किसी गरीब की बेटी की शादी करवा दें, आप वाटर कूलर लगवा दें, विच लाइक सीम्स रीजनेबल. लेकिन बिकॉज इट्स अ रिलीजियस ड्यूटी या इट्स अ कस्टम, इट्स अ सुन्ना कि हम सेक्रीफाइस करते हैं ऑन ईद, तो हम किसी भी सूरत में उस आइडिया को गिव अप नहीं करेंगे because our sentiments are attached with it. So similarly, how cruel या whatever the perspective of the British were regarding sati, of it being a cruel custom, लेकिन चूंकि हिंदू sentiments इसके साथ attached था, तो it was becoming very difficult के उसको change किया जाता. For them, it was more of a insult to their religion, and they felt कि British तो foreign invaders हैं who were trying to change them. So याद रखें, the most important part of your answer or a paragraph is your analysis. Analysis is the part which makes sense, yeah, which relates your information to the question. So now the examiner is able to understand कि अच्छा इससे तो उनका sentiment hurt हुआ, religious, that is why they were not happy with it. So याद रखें, this is something that we are expecting them to understand कि basically banning of सत्ती की वजह से वो उनको hate क्यों करने लग गया. ठीक है, तो the hate that they got was due to the Indian sentiment attached with the custom. So whatever you write as a first paragraph will get you the 4 mark. अगर आप banning of सत्ती लिख देते हैं, you will get, if it's a 10 mark question, you will get 4 marks. Okay, and then you will talk more about if banning of sati, so you will get the 5th mark, and another paragraph will get you the 6th mark. And as soon as you talk about any other custom which is not in there, हमने अगर for example पहला paragraph Christian missionaries का लिख दिया, so that is level 3. Any other reform that is not given in the question, for example वो banning of sati हो सकता है या वो change of language हो सकता है, that will jump to level 4. Level 4 is something that is not given in the question. So level 4 क्या है? That is the factors not given in the question. So that will get you the 7th, 8th and 9th mark, right? So this is something that is not given in the question. Factors not given in question. तो जैसे हमें उसने क्रिश्चियन मिशनरीज की तो हिंट दे दी थी, लेकिन रेस्ट ऑफ द रीजंस वी डिस्कवर्ड ऑन आवर ओन, या वो हमने खुद से रिकॉल की, तो उसके लिए वी गेट लेवल 4. ऑल्दो क्राइटेरिया सेम रहेगा, ईच पैराग्राफ should have 3 things in it. These are identification, identification is identifying the reason that is required. Then the next step is describing it. And the most important point is analyzing. What it is? It is analyzing, relating your paragraph to the question. So that is analysis. So if your paragraph has all these 3 things, you achieve the mark that the examiner has decided to give you. अगर वो आपकी side 1 है given in the question, तो that is 4 mark, और अगर वो level 4 है that is not given in the question, that will jump you to 7 marks. ठीक है, so unless इनमें से कोई भी एक चीज मिस कर दें आप, if you're not describing your reason, if you're just saying के British banned sati and it was a cruel custom, the Hindu sentiments were attached with it, तो examiner will be lost. He doesn't know what sati is, so he will not give you the mark that he is supposed to give you. इसी तरह if you're just saying कि British it was a Hindu custom which in which the widow was burned alive along with her dead husband, तो यहाँ पे भी he is not clear, because by reading this he feels कि ये तो बिल्कुल ठीक किया ब्रिटिश ने, ये तो ब्लॉक करना बैन करना बनता था. तो इवन एनालिसिस इज यूजुअली द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट जो बच्चों को नहीं करना आता, या बच्चे अमूमन नोट्स यूज करके रट्टा करते हैं, क्रैम करते हैं. दे आर अनएबल टू एनालाइज द इंफॉर्मेशन दैट दे यूजुअली गिव. और आइडेंटिफिकेशन तो बहुत बेसिक सी बात है, अगर आप रिकॉल ही नहीं कर पा रहे, अगर आपको पता ही नहीं चल रहा कि कौन कौन सी पॉलिसीज ब्रिटिश ने इंट्रोड्यूस करवाई थी, तो दैट विल पुट यू इन अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रबल. So, I'll just stop the recording.